PT on the coast, doing a lot of mobility work, and just, I guess, known for sort of that higher standard in training and coaching. And man, what's your story? How'd you get to where you are?
Oh man, it's been a long road, to be honest. I've been in the health and fitness industry for a long time, man, and it's been a massive part of my life. And when I was young, it was all about basically just being an athlete. I was never really interested in coaching. I wasn't really it didn't bother me. So I just loved the sport. I just loved playing sport, and that was all I really wanted to do. I just wanted to be the athlete. And as I got older, things just panned out very differently, and I ended up on the other end of it, and then being more of a coach, and ended up mentoring and getting into helping other people get through issues with their bodies and their pain. But a lot of it started because of playing sport for a long time. My body was a bit of a mess. So once I realized that, it was basically about the journey to fix that. And I'm still on it at the moment.
Yes.
I'm still on it at the moment. So it's sort of, I'm always working towards doing something to move better or feel better and get to that next level. And now I pretty much created that PT business to do that with everybody else.
Yeah, cool.
So once I did it with myself, it was so much easier to be able to teach it to other people, and how I got to that.
100%. You know, you can go and do all the courses in the world, but without the experience, it's not worth much.
Yeah, it's how it sort of first started was I'd stopped playing sport, so I was probably a year out of playing sport, and I was just lifting weights. I was just moving, training.
This rugby?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then did a bit of boxing, and then did an ultra marathon as well. So,
did ultra?
Yeah.
How long was an ultra?
I did 80. Fuck. Yeah. So that was actually the last thing I did before I was like, all right, I gotta change.
Just the body's aches, pains, injuries.
Yeah. So during playing football, I had probably 14 to 15 cortisone injections through my body, majority of my ankles.
Really?
So I had probably 12 to 14 in my ankle, and then the other one was in my shoulder. Just from playing sport, man. It really pushes your body. And once I stopped playing, that's where my body was. And I went straight from that into boxing, probably 14 weeks. Then after the boxing, it was just strength training at the gym.
Yeah.
And after that, it was just a marathon, just a regular marathon I ran with a good friend of mine. We raised money for mental health awareness. So we did.
Awesome.
It was pretty much about we just wanted to go out there and show that you can do what you really set your mind to.
Yeah.
We didn't do a prep. We didn't do anything. We just said we're going to run a full marathon while doing a strength training block pretty much into the marathon, and we didn't really do any cardio. So we just wanted to do that to just pretty much prove and just show, look, if you really want to do something and you want to really achieve that, you can do it. So we went out, and I think we were both sitting around that 100 kilo mark, and we ran that 42K. And we raised a couple grand, or maybe $1,000 for mental health awareness, which was incredible. And
awesome.
Just had a lot of people reach out. After that, man, my body was again pretty cooked.
Yeah.
Then COVID hit, and I was bored.
Yeah.
I was bored. I wasn't doing a whole lot of training, and I had a couple of friends running 100K ultra, and they sort of were just like, yeah, man, we're doing it. We're going to come through Kiwana to the Mooloolaba Lake at like 11 or 12. Jump in, come do a bit of a run with us. And I'm like, no, I want to do the whole thing. Like, I want to see how I go. And they're like, all right, well, we start tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. at Caboolture Exhibition Centre. I was like, all right, sweet. So I went over to, went home, got my shoes, got a pair of skins off a mate of mine, and then packed a little Camelback, got a heap of gels, ate a heap of food, got as many carbs and as much salt in me as I could. Yeah, woke up the next morning at like 3:30, and then my partner at the time drove down, dropped me off in Caboolture, and then we just started running, man. We started running, and we stopped at they had checkpoints. These two other boys were training for this, so they'd done
a lot of work.
Yeah. One of them done a fair bit of training, and he'd done a 50K 2 months before. He did the marathon the year before, so he was like prepping for it. And I was just cold turkey, just straight out off nothing. So he got to Noosa, man. So he ran from Yeah,
Janusa.
I got to Majimba.
Still, wow.
Yeah, and then the other bloke that we ran with, he has had a few bad surgeries on his knees, so we had to call it at about 50, but yeah, that was just because he was injured. He would have pushed through. He just couldn't, his knee was just no good. Because he also didn't really do much of a prep. And then after that, man, it was probably a good 8 months.
Right.
Not being able to walk for probably more than 20, probably 10 minutes, to be honest, 10 to 15 minutes.
From this run, from this event?
Yeah, my ankles.
Just did it. You cooked it.
My ankles were just gone. So I was, I pretty much spent the next 6 months just trying to get my body right. And yeah, took another 8 months to get to the point, had to have another cortisone to get that pain to go. And then I spent probably 2 hours every 2 days just training my ankles and just trying to get more movement and trying to get them to heal.
Interesting.
And it's been a long road, but they're finally back and they feel the best they probably have for a long time. I haven't run since.
No.
And all I've done is that mobility work. So that was like the turning point.
Right.
That ultra.
Yeah.
I did it and I was like, I'm not doing that again. And
No.
I'm not like this. I can't have my body feel like this.
It's not sustainable.
This is not sustainable. This is not going to be helpful. This is like the risk to reward that I'm getting is just not enough.
Yeah.
So I went, and then I met my mentor that I've had for this whole journey called Matt Morrison. I met him at basically, he was training a couple of my friends. They were like, hey, we got this guy coming in, he's doing a full mobility session with us. Apparently it's really difficult and he's really good at what he does. Come give it a go. I was like, all right, sweet. I genuinely used to think that my mobility wasn't too bad. I just thought I overtrained. So I went in, I was like, I'll be all right. Went in, he did this class. We went for 90 minutes to 2 hours with me and then 2 other friends of mine, and I was completely a fish out of water.
Wow.
My hips barely rotated at all. I had no strength in any way. My ankles were just fully locked at not even 90 degrees dorsiflexion because they were just so overworked and jacked up. And that was sort of the point where I was like, wow, okay, I need to learn this. I need to figure this out. I need to find out what the heck I'm going to do to get out of here.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't I couldn't do it myself, man. I tried and it just wasn't really working. And then I went down that rabbit hole and I ended up getting qualified. So the trainer that I met that day was a functional range conditioning practitioner, and he's also got quite a few other qualifications, which is now what I am qualified in.
Cool.
So he pretty much taught me a lot of what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing a whole lot more than I do. He just teaches me it all, and it's incredible. And I learned it all, man, and got to the point where I was pain free.
Cool.
I was pain free. I could squat. I could go to work for the full day, and I wouldn't be limping. I'd be able to walk down to the beach. I'd be able to take the dog for a walk, and I wouldn't be limping.
Quality of life.
Yeah.
It's back.
And I was like, look back at the times where I was lifting, and I was like, I was doing heavy deadlifts, and I was doing all of this other really heavy strength training, and I was lifting all those big numbers. But I was like, at the end of the day, after I walk out, I feel sore. It hurts. It doesn't feel good. It's just I was like, this isn't what I want to do.
No.
And then you do it, you're like, oh wow, that's the most I've ever lifted, this is great. But I was like, that goes away pretty quick, and then you're in pain again. I was like, this just isn't worth it. So I stopped the weights, man, at that point when I did that session. I stopped the weights and I just went all out on that, where I was doing it for 2 to 5 hours a day for probably a good year.
Shit.
When it was just constant. I was obsessed with it. It was podcast, it was reading, it was constantly doing it on myself, trying to get it other people. And then once I started to see the change in me, I immediately just started to do it with clients of mine.
Yeah.
So I'd be working on something and then I'd be training them and I'd be like, wow, that's what's happening, that's what I'm working on. All right, sweet, I'm gonna get you doing it.
Yeah, cool.
And this is when I was learning it too.
Yeah.
So I was learning it myself, and then I was working with people, and then I started getting them to do it, and they were coming back to me and telling me the same things I've been saying to myself.
Interesting.
So I was like, oh, this sensation I've been feeling, and they're like, oh my God, wow. Then I'd go through and I'd teach them what I've been doing with it, and then they'd start doing it, and then I started programming it.
Yeah, sweet.
And then people started really enjoying that. And then I started getting all these people with these massive changes in their bodies. And then it was just trying to keep up with it, which is basically where I am now.
Yeah.
So it's trying to just get to the point where I can be a bit more scalable.
Okay.
To the point where I'm trying to be more efficient with the time. So instead of teaching a lot of the stuff one-on-one,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get all of it to a point where I can have it online.
Yeah, cool.
So instead of only being able to help someone that's in person, I can be able to help anyone.
Yeah.
And I can help them anywhere in the world, because it's just going to be, I can do the same thing I'm doing in person, I'm just going to be on your phone or your computer, wherever it is.
Yes.
But because it's quite complex, it's been difficult to get sorted. But I'm nearly there, which
Cool.
is exciting.
Awesome.
Which is really cool, man. And I've been, really excited about it, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's been a long journey, bro. But the biggest thing for me is just starting to be a bit smarter with my training. Like, now is the least I've ever trained.
Yeah.
But I feel the best, and I'm getting more change than I ever did in the past. But I was the victim of that overtraining mentality. It was just
More heavier.
costly more, yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't respect the recovery.
No.
It was just, I thought, I can do it, I can keep going. And you just run yourself into the ground, and you get to the point, you've probably been through the same thing, man. You get to the point where you're a mess, and you're not lifting numbers, and your body's starting to ache, you're getting pains, and then before you stop yourself, your body stops you.
When I was on the Gold Coast at Burley, running a lot of programming off kind of hybrid powerlifting programs, just the goal was always to get strong. And it's the same thing, my left hip was just consistently an issue, and it wasn't until I started working with this sort of like holistic chiropractor that made me stop doing all of these things, and I had to really go back to like unilateral work, body weight work, holding, contraction, a lot of isometric stuff. But it was like, shit, okay, cool, these are obviously the gaps and the holes that I haven't been filling. And then, you come back to the big movements and everything's improved. And what sometimes I think can feel like a step backwards is really just almost a step sideways. But until you can, and even just hearing you share on that journey, like, it's funny how your whole path led you to that moment of broken solution, and you're seeing that in other people sharing it. It's funny how with hindsight we can almost look back and see exactly how we got to where we are.
Yes. I've had that recently a bit, man. Like, looking back to what I was doing when I was playing sport and what I was doing as an athlete, now I look at myself when I'm that 17 to 20 sort of age, and I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing, man? Because I remember what I was doing for training then. I remember exactly what I was doing, and it's just not what I should have been doing. And then I realized
it never is.
Yeah, that's true.
It never is. And what you're doing now, you'll look back on in 5 years, and this is life. This is progression. This is, when you're like a little kid and you think you look cool.
Yeah.
Your hair's a certain way, you fucking chains on or whatever it is, and you look at these pictures at Christmas and you're like, what was I doing? I think back to my training history, and it's like, wow, if only I'd done what I know now at the start. That's not how it works.
Exactly.
And there's kind of almost this like acceptance and peace in that too.
It's been, well, it is a journey, and we're all learning, man. We're all trying to just figure out what we're trying to basically do in this journey of life. It's hard. I mean, with training's been a massive thing for me in my life, and it's always been like the staple that's always there. And when I start to lose that, it's just like other things in my life start to slip a lot as well. So training has always been like, I was saying escape, but I don't want to feel like I'm escaping from anything I say. It's more of just what I really enjoy that makes me fulfilled. And if I don't get up every day and work towards something, or if I'm not working on something, I feel like I'm just stagnant.
I think as a man, that's important. It's important to have disciplined goals, purpose. I understand. I'm exactly the same. Training's been my foundation. When I train well, I eat well. When I eat well, I feel good. When I feel good, I'm motivated. I'm working on things. When I'm motivating, I feel fulfilled. You sleep well. everything else is kind of, but as you know, like as soon as training kind of goes, everything else starts to deteriorate. So I get that completely.
Yeah.
It's always been for myself something that I've done, always something I always do.
Yeah.
And I think in that, you know, the PT space can be quite almost tiresome. And you learn quite quickly that other people don't take it maybe as seriously as you. And to stay that motivated, to stay that kind of passionate, I think you have to keep learning, and you have to keep feeling like what you're doing is worthwhile. You know, and again, like just from what you've shared, like it sounds like you're actually making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
You know, I've found even in myself, like I've moved much more into almost like a holistic kind of coaching space, because you can do the training, you can do the nutrition, but until you address the person behind all of that, it's more of a distraction. It's more just ticking boxes. And you know, that for me has been a really interesting kind of learning to it, looking at, okay, look at the individual as to who they are. They're not just coming in for a 45-minute PT session, walking out feeling good, coming back next Tuesday and the one after and the one after, and really not making any progress in terms of who they are. Does that make sense? So whereas now it's like I'm looking at who they are, and then that carries over into the training, it carries over to the nutrition. You know, I used to be so big on, hey, here's your training plan, here's your nutrition plan, why aren't you sticking to it? Whereas now it's like, I won't give you any of that. I'm looking at who you are, and then these people are now asking when they're ready, and they're taking control. And it's, I suppose it's the same thing with you. You know, your body got to a point where it's like, you have no more choices. You have to take responsibility and control for what you're not doing.
It's true. It's either you stop yourself and you do the work, or your body just keeps giving you signs until you're forced to stop. And I got to the point where I was forced to stop. I was forced to stop, man. I couldn't live a normal life without being in pain. I was 25, 24 at the time. I was like, how's that? That's not right. I was like, I could go out and achieve every goal I've ever set out to do, but if I'm going home and I'm sitting with every dream I've ever wanted fulfilled, and I've got this horrible ankle pain, I've got a shoulder that's throbbing, and every time I try to move or do stuff, it's painful. You're not going to be happy because you just got this pebble in your shoe, and you just can't get away from it. And now I'm at the point where movement won't stop me from anything I want to do. I used to think, and I want to be that 70, 80-year-old granddad that can still run around with his grandkids and do absolutely anything he wants without pain. If I want to go on a skiing trip, I want to go on a surf trip, I want to go do something, I can. And my body won't stop me from doing that.
Your vessel.
My body won't be a problem. Or if, you know, you've got a big get-together or a family get-together and it's active, you're out doing shit, I'm not going to be run down by the end of it. I can move, I can keep going. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm a little late. I'm sweet. And anything I try to do is just, there's no pain. And when you're in pain, you get so used to being stuck there that when you're out of it, it's just like you're in a whole new world.
Interesting.
And a lot of time with all the work I'm doing with mobility, you're changing the way a joint functions. You're changing the way your body moves. And you're breaking apart connective tissue, which you store emotion in tissue.
100%.
So it can be very therapeutic for people that when they finally get out of this, it's like they've been trapped, or they've been swimming through this murky lake for just years, and you just constantly got this pain, and then all of a sudden you start to come out of that murky lake and you're in this clear water and everything's just so easy and it just flows.
I like that.
And that's sort of what the experience I've had with it. And then seeing it with other people is just, it adds to my life, seeing other people go through it. Like I do it with my clients, I do it with my mum, my dad, my brother. Everyone does it, and it works. And it works because it trains the joint. So a lot of health and fitness these days is so focused on training the muscle, but the muscle's attaching again to the joint. So when you're not training the joint capsule, then it's just not being used. And if you've heard the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's what happens with range of movement. When you haven't been using space for a long time, it just shuts it down because your body doesn't need it. And if it doesn't need it, it's not going to use it, so it shuts it off. So then when you try to move there, you get that block. And basically everything I've been doing is just teaching people how to get past that and creating strength in the joints so that it doesn't need to be locked up. When you think about it, when you see kids moving, every baby, when you see incredible, that they squat perfect.
Yeah.
As you grow up, then we go to school, we're stuck in a chair for 8 hours a day. And then you're forced to be active with PE, but a lot of times when you're in schools in PE, not a lot of kids are loving it.
No.
And not many can move very well because it's not massively a big part of the curriculum, man. Movement is very...
But we never, it's represented by our whole lifestyle now, isn't it?
Yes.
It's couch to car, to bed, to office, to whatever. But we don't. Kids are the same. They're sitting on iPads and screens and Xboxes and I mean, I remember when I was little, like I did those things, but I spent a lot of time playing soccer and running around and rollerblading and skateboarding, and it is different.
That would have been so good for your body.
And our bodies now, it's almost like we're slowing down, as you say, like shutting off. If you're not using it, you're losing it. Yeah,
and it's so common. I mean, as a kid, man, I was lucky. I grew up in a little Aboriginal community where I pretty much played every sport you could.
Where was that?
Weipa, which is far north Queensland. So I grew up, we moved there when I was in grade 2, so 2002. Mum was a teacher, so she got transferred up there for 2 to 3, I think it was 2 years we were meant to stay for. We ended up staying for like 6.
Wow.
Because they just loved it. And my whole life was you could ride your bike from one side to the other of the town. Like I'd swim, I did cricket, I played golf, what else would I do? Football, AFL, everything. And I could just jump on my bike, I'd ride a training, go home. It was just perfect. And I didn't wear shoes to school till I was grade 7, man, because it was such a small town. Not everyone had, it was only one school, there's not a set of traffic lights, no fast food, no nothing, and it was just, in this whole little world.
Yeah, wow.
And coming down here from there was just a massive change. I went from Western Cape College to Emmanuel Lutheran College. So going from no shoes, no real proper uniform, just being able to pretty much do what you want, to full leather shoes, high socks, belt, formal pants, button up,
schoolboy thing,
big bucket hat, well not bucket hat, but proper. Private. I was just like, man, I just felt like a fish out of water. And it took me a bit to adjust, and then luckily I ended up moving across to Man Creek High for the football program.
Okay.
And that's when I started to feel like I
made more sense.
Yeah. I was like, then I sort of felt like I found my place, because I felt real lost going from that town to this. I was like, wow. And then luckily enough that happened, and I look back on it now, I'm like, wow, that was a massive part of my life, and if I didn't change, things would have been very different, because the people I met when I left that school and went to Man Creek are still some of my best mates to this day. And they've never really left. And as you get older, man, you don't have a lot of people that you spend time with.
No.
I could count them on 2 hands, if that. And that's just a really special thing, which is what I got from that, the sport and that school and life.
It creates a connection, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I grew up in the Middle East in Dubai, and same kind of thing. Moved back here when I was 14, just turning 15, and same thing. Went to Mountain Creek and loved it. Loved it.
Awesome.
I loved that it was such a big school, and naturally you found people that were like you. And I was the same. I did my grade 9 Mount Creek, and then I went and did the private school thing. Again, to play rugby and just for various other reasons. And I never found that same connection that I did at Mount Creek. And I look back to like most of the people that I still kind of am closest to, and it's all the Creek kids. And it's just connection, and it's holistic, and it's real. And I mean, I'm all for private schools, but it's different.
So different.
The connection is different. It's more not a status thing, but it's it's who you are and what you drive, and how can you help me? And whereas there it was just that sort of grounded, holistic. We're all just doing our best, and I like you because you're like me. And
Exactly.
Let's go kick a ball.
You find your place. I look back on those days, and it's just I didn't realize how lucky I was to have that, and I sort of feel like I took it for granted a bit. But the cool thing, man, is I went back to Mountain Creek as a teacher. So when I was doing my teaching degree, I did, I think, 3 cracks at Mountain Creek High. So I was a student in the program, with the the footy program, which was a massive part of my schooling. And then my coach that was there is still there, and I went back and I was a coach with him.
Yeah, wow.
And I was able to sit back and then look and sort of see exactly what it was like when I was there.
Yeah, wow.
And it was really, really cool to be able to be that and see that, and also be able to talk to the coach that was my coach about what it's like with these kids that are coming through, because he was having the same dramas with them as he had with me. Well, not me, but the boys in my age.
Yeah.
Just teenage footy boy stuff.
Yeah.
Dealing with the same stuff. And I'm sitting here, however long later, helping him, sort of mentor the next generation that's coming through when he's done the same to me. But now I can get to the point where I can do it with him. And yeah, it was really special, man. It really was. My brother came in and did a bit with me as well, and it was really cool. It was really cool.
That's
and
awesome.
some of those boys that we've gone on to help have been so successful and done so much, which is such a really cool thing to see. And the teacher that was there, Kambawaza, he's been a massive sort of inspiration for me for a long time.
Cool.
Which has been amazing. And then being able to go back there and speak to him as a man or an adult, opposed to when I last saw him as a kid.
Yep.
And just to be able to sort of just thank him for what he did, because he was a massive part of my sort of who I became. And I'd say there's a lot of people out there that have had the same thing from him, which is a pretty amazing thing to be a part of. And then that sort of mentality and that attitude that I took from that has helped me get into what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
With PT, running your own business, being able to help people, because as a PT, man, it's not just train, eat this, sweet. It's you're almost like a counselor sometimes.
1,000%.
And we're not actually counselors. We're just doing our best to help as much as we can. And when you do that, you learn, and when you see someone that often, man, you learn a lot about them. You know what's going on.
Absolutely.
And when you're in those positions, the more you know about life and the more you've been through, the better position you're in to help. So I look back on those things, and a lot of the things I wanted to go right for me as a kid, I think back and I'm like, if that actually went the way I wanted it to, I'd be really miserable right now, because that's not what I really wanted. Because I used to really try to control it.
Well, life gives us what we need, not what we want.
Yeah.
But yeah, sort of like what we touched on at the start, like, the experience is what's so invaluable. And so, you sitting there as one of those footy boys, listening to the coach, to then go back and be able to experience both sides is so powerful.
Yeah.
And I remember, I finished school at Suncoast Christian College, and I had fond memories of all those teachers and footy and all the rest of it. And then we put our kids back there.
Yeah.
And then so I'm going back there now as a dad and talking to the teachers, but like as a dad.
I haven't been through that one yet.
It's the same, but it's different, and it's weird. It's like,
it would be, man. It would be.
You have this completely different kind of relationship with them, and they treat you like a person, not like a naughty school kid.
Yeah. I'll be rocking. I think I've done something wrong.
Yeah. So that was even, and I would see other guys I went to school with their kids there.
Yeah.
And it's just like this full circle. Shit, I'm getting old.
Yeah. Wow. That's funny. I've seen that happen with my friends. I just haven't. I've sort of watched it from afar, and I'm like, that's going to be pretty full on.
Yeah, no, it's weird. It's surreal.
It's beautiful though that you can be able to do that, and sort of see that, and still be like around those people. That they've been there. You went to school with them. Now you've lived like out of school for so long. You've gone on to become adults, and then go back, and now you've got your own families.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But then the other side of that is like, when you're little and you kind of look to mum or dad, or look to the teacher, or look to the adult or the coach or whatever, as someone that's got it all together.
Not at all.
And you're like, when I'm there, I'll be sweet. And then you get there and you're like, fuck, I'm the same,
Yeah.
and they're the same, and they're just people too,
Yeah.
and they're doing their best, and I'm doing my best, and from little to big,
Yeah.
we're all navigating.
Yeah.
Like we're all figuring it out.
Like that big false narrative when you're a kid, you're like, one day I'm going to be able to just rest and I'm going to have everything sorted.
Yeah.
That day never comes. Like you're
No.
always going to be trying to do something. You're always going to be trying to be better. You're always trying to be moving or doing something more.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I was thinking back to what you shared about, you know, your experience of being broken.
Yeah.
And how many people, that's it. That's it. That's the end of the road. That is I'm broken. I'm victim mentality. I have bad ankles. I can't train.
Yes.
Whereas for you, that was the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what defines like us as characters, is to, you know, who are you in the hard times? You know,
That's true.
What happens when you're broken? Is it okay, cool, let's go, or is it nah, I'm done?
Yeah. Because I had that, man. Before I found the concepts and the FRC that I found, man, I had people saying, look, you've done permanent damage to that, your shoulder and your ankles, it's not going to change. And I genuinely was like, oh, okay. And then I just thought to myself, I'm like, surely not. Surely I can't feel like this, and that's it. And then I didn't actually go searching to find this, it just sort of fell in my lap. You know, like I just rocked up to the gym and a mate of mine already had organised it.
It was meant to.
Yeah. Chris Locke was actually the one that introduced me to it.
Cool.
So Chris Locke found this before me. He found the mentor that both of us worked with, and he got me onto it. He's like, man, I'm doing this, and it's incredible.
Yeah, because he had a massive shift in,
you know,
kind of who he was to who he is now.
Yeah, Chris Locke is, I look up to him a lot.
Yeah, no, he's a nice guy, smart guy.
Oh, he's one of the most beautiful people
Yeah.
I've ever met, and I've got all the time in the world for Chris.
What I really like about, I guess, like the work that you're doing is you've shown that you can do both. You know, in this like bodybuilding sense and strongman sense and performance based, it's like maybe not so much performance based. I think they've got a bit of grasp, but like the sort of the general gym goer that's just looking to get jacked.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't have time for that. No, I don't need to I don't need to. Whereas like you've kind of, as you said, took a massive step back, learnt a new skill, applied it, and now you've come and kind of overstepped.
Yeah.
You know, where now you're ahead of those people that aren't doing that work. It's like it added another dimension, and it's cool to see living proof of you actually can do it all well. Yeah. You know, and it can serve you. Yeah. It doesn't need to be this or that.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to become as a PT. I wanted to get to the point where I was like, anyone in the world that has a problem or an issue with their body, I want them to be able to come to me, and I want to be able to add something to their life.
Yeah.
I want to be able to make change in their body, whatever it is that they need. You know, if they're 10 years old or if they're 70, I want to be able to have something that I can offer them that's going to improve their overall well-being in their life. And back in the day when I was just lifting weights, man, I didn't have it. I did not have it. I was doing trap bar deadlifts. I got the best I ever did. I did 275, man, for a rep, and I was like, great. Got out, and I was like, that hurt. Ow. But then I tried to do a hip car, which is one of the movements I do, and I couldn't do it. I could not move my hip through the full range of movement solely on its own without cramping, and I was so weak. Or sitting down in a pancake, I couldn't lift my leg off the floor without just pain. Or I couldn't lift my leg off the floor. I could, but I'd be shaking and it would just end up cramping. I was like, wow, that's weak. I was like, this is something I'm really not good at. So I was like, okay, let's get good at it. Cool. So I just completely engulfed myself in it and got to the point where now I didn't do a squat or a deadlift for at least 18 months, probably longer. And I went back and did it again, and now I'm squatting and deadlifting again, and I can do more than what I did before. Yeah, nice. And it's pain-free. The range of movement's better. I'm not compensating anywhere, and it's actually feels good. And I enjoy it, and I don't pull up sore, and I know when to rest, I know when to train, I know how hard I can do, I know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, when to structure your training. And it was that was the sort of time where I was like, wow, I was like, if I'm stopping all this weights, I'm like, damn, I'm going to lose it. But I was like, you're stopping lifting all the external load, but you still got internal strength. Like, you got to learn how to control your own body. Once you can learn how to control yourself and you can control each joint, then you go back and put the weight on. It's just going to go through the roof again.
Yes.
And that's what happened. Because that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. But you go away and it's like you got a car, man. I've used this metaphor again with the client the other day. When you got your car and it's not working properly, you don't take it into the mechanic and they don't just rip it around and they drive as fast as they can and just rip into it and try to get it to work better. You take it into the garage, you take it apart, they figure out what works, what doesn't, and then they fix it.
Yeah.
They put it back,
That's
they
cool.
give the car the prerequisites it needs to go out and do the job it needs to do, which is just drive.
Yeah.
But people want to get better at deadlifting or squatting, but they don't have the prerequisites to actually perform a proper squat. So instead of just smashing the squat over and over again, you need to go away, figure out, why can't I move there? Why am I blocked? And fix that. Then you go back and you'll be different because it will be worked on and you'll fix it. If you're not squatting properly, you don't just keep loading the bar more and more and more. You fix it. You figure out, okay, why can't I? Do my hips rotate? Do I have enough hip flexion? Do I actually be able to create inter-abdominal pressure? Can I brace? Then once you get all that working and your hips can actually function, then you start to use that and it's fixed. So that's what you got to do, because everything in your body is rotation to get it to go forward. Same with the car.
Yeah.
So taking everything apart and just going back to basics and just teaching your body how to move properly is so underutilized and underrated these days, because you don't actually have to stop. You can still keep squatting, but you've just got to start to work on something that's going to help you squat better instead of just loading it more.
Of course.
That's what I got to the point of doing, man. And that metaphor I use a fair bit because it's just so clear and it makes people realize, hey, just loading it and doing it isn't going to fix it. Because you can't move where you can't move. And then once you get ranges and your mobility fixed, then you can actually pull yourself into the squat. You don't just fall into a squat, your tissue has to pull you in.
Yeah.
If you just fell into a squat, you wouldn't be able to stand, you'd fall over the shot.
Yeah.
So it's just teaching people how to train that regressive tissue and pull themselves into positions and actually have strength in joints.
Yeah.
So doing that with myself has been amazing, man. And then being able to see other people go through the same journey and be able to provide that, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding, and it just makes you love the job even more.
Yeah, of course.
PT was never really the first option for me, man. I mean, I only got to Cert 3 and 4 in fitness because I was teaching it.
Yeah.
So I was studying to be a teacher because that was what I always really enjoyed doing.
What did you do?
To be honest, Ken Bawaza from school was a big influence on that. I saw what he did for me, I saw what he did for other people, and I was like, hey, I want to do that.
Cool.
I want to be that.
Yeah.
And as an athlete, it just wasn't really working for me, so I thought, hey, maybe this is not my path.
Yeah.
So once I stopped fighting for that, everything just fell into place because I was trying to control it. That old illusion of control, you know, I didn't want to let go.
Control comes from fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ever since I was a kid, my values was that.
Yeah.
And having to go through it was confronting, but I got to the point where I was like, yeah, this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
And then getting to the point with all the training, man, it was a long road, but once I learned it and being able to make it simple and easy for other people to grasp and do, that's sort of been the big thing.
Cool.
And then did the Cert 3 and 4 and was just literally going to do it so I could teach it.
Yep.
The whole plan was finish teaching. I want to do PE teaching and I want to teach Cert 3 and 4 in fitness so I could help people go towards that. But I ended up loving doing that, PT. So I just randomly started, when I was training on my own, I was studying teaching, I was doing after school camp, I was training in the gym and I'd train with my mates and then I'd do stuff with them, and then I knew the manager of the gym I was at and I was like, hey man, I think I'd like to give PT a go. He's like, alright, I'll have a chat with you tomorrow. He sort of laughed because he was like, oh, you didn't expect that from me. I was like, alright, so I had a chat with him the next day. And then I'm pretty sure like a month later I started as a PT. And absolutely loved it.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely loved it. And this is when I was just so fresh and raw. Like I was just teaching and doing stuff with people that I do with myself.
Yes.
You know, and I was very raw, but I loved being able to help people. I love being able to. I'm great. I like doing stuff with people. I love people.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's the best. And then when your job's around that, and then I love being in the gym.
Yeah.
I was like, every time I'd go in, I'd train in the morning, and then I'd have to leave. I was like, damn.
Yeah. Now what?
Let's just not leave, man.
Yeah.
Let's work here. Started doing that, and then absolutely just loved it, man. And then COVID hit, so I went back, finished my teaching degree, but I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I can do what I wanted to do as a teacher, as a PT, but I can do it one-on-one.
Yes.
And I can have more of an impact, because trying to really genuinely help 25 kids in every class through life and everything, when you're trying to also teach, it's hard. But now I just zero in and just teach exactly what I want.
Cool. Awesome.
Teach people how to move better, teach people how to train, how to recover, how to train their respiratory, their aerobic system. And it's been a roller coaster, man. Now I'm just trying to be a bit more efficient with it to help more people.
And so is that what's next? Is that sort of,
yeah,
to create courses or videos or online? Or
Online is what I'm looking to do. So
cool.
I've been getting some programs done recently. So I've got creating like an ebook.
Awesome.
So it's going to be an ebook on a heap of information on what I do. There's probably a bit over 2 hours worth of video content on it, and I try to just get as much quality in there as I can without overwhelming. So there's an upper body day where it goes through how to create change in your upper body, how to create strength in it, and then how to load it with external load. Then I do the same thing with the hips, and then there is a aerobic system training day. So you just train your aerobic system, so just for cardiovascular health. So upper body's trained, lower body's trained, and then you take care of your cardiovascular system. So it's just a little program that's going to help people just get a bit of an idea about what I do. And then I'm looking at getting an app sort of where I can have people constantly subscribe with the programs developing harder and harder as they progress along.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
That's the goal, man. So I can still have the one-on-ones where I can really dial in and just be perfect one-on-one and just give that person what they need. But I can also have more programs where I'm trying to get everything I do in one-on-ones online, so I can help
more people.
Yeah, because I've had people. I'm having to say no to people.
You capped out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't help you do this when I'm not with you.
Yes.
And I was like, it's difficult. So just getting coaching videos and then having that online interaction in the app, being able to talk to people is going to be, I can actually communicate with them more than what I would as a one-on-one, because they've got constant messaging access, and they've also got video content of me teaching everything, so they can watch it over and over again.
Awesome, sounds cool.
Because when I teach it in person, I explain it once, and then it's hard to grasp everything. So in a video, you can explain it, you can zip straight back, start, you can watch it again, you can get the ideas, so you start to get the concepts, and when you understand what you're trying to do, you can get change way quicker.
Yes.
So it's all about basically educating people to the point where they don't need me, because I don't want 100%. Them to be relying on me. I want to teach them, okay, this is what's happening with your body, this is your weakness, this is your strength, this is what we're trying to work on. So when you start to go, oh, this pain's coming back, this is what I need to do. Oh, I haven't been doing this, that's why. This is happening again. Oh, sweet, okay, I've been a bit slack on this, I'm going to start putting this again. So it's just teaching people about their body so that they can get to the point where they move well.
And they have the tools.
Yeah. I mean, the mobility work I did, man, it was full on for probably 18 months to 2 years, where it was almost all I did. But I got to the point where I've now got the space and the range I need to do it. So my training isn't massively around mobility anymore. It's just about doing end range functional exercises that use the space I currently have so that I don't lose it.
Cool.
The problem with me at the start is I lost it.
Yeah.
So it's just hard mobility training to get the prerequisites you need, so then you can go and do the training that you want.
Yep.
So the mobility work I do, I haven't done a whole lot of it for probably 18 months because I I move where I need to go.
You don't need to.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
I do loaded Cossacks, I'll do sliders, I do my cars, I move through space every day. So I'm constantly using the ranges that I have, which is strengthening over time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to do massively hard mobility work because it is quite time consuming, and it takes, it's just time consuming basically. So I just move now, man, and I can go back to just training.
So who should be doing it, and what are the key benefits? Obviously you mentioned like pain-free and obviously being more flexible, but who is this like best for, and why should they?
Well, the good thing about this is that it can pretty much go to anybody in the world that just wants to move better and have stronger joints. So the whole idea about FRC is getting every joint in your body to function on its own and have strength in the capsule. So we're isolating the joint and just getting that one joint to work. So a lot of the times in your body, when you've got muscles that are tight, they're either weak or they're overworked. So when we go through a movement assessment, I assess people as to how they move. So then you can figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. So then if it's tight, you need to figure out why. Weak or overworked. If it's weak, you've got to strengthen. If it's overworked, you've got to figure out why it's overworked and make whatever isn't working start to work, so it's not doing everything over time. Yeah. Do it over and over again, you get stuck. So that's what it's basically about. And when you don't have joints that are healthy, it's like having a bad TV antenna. Just the signals don't get through when you're trying to move. Blood flow doesn't get through, so you can't recover. The hip is just locked up in the capsule, or your shoulder, or your spine, wherever it is. So it's basically just getting everything to function on its own and do its own job and have strength through the entire range of movement. So there's athletes that do it massively. I mean, all training types have its place, but this is just the number one I've found for mobility work. I've done it with clients that are 72, I've done it with clients that are 12. It can work with everyone. So it has its own place there, which is why I really enjoyed it so much, because that got to me the point to where anyone can come to me and I can assess how they move, and I can give them positions and tools to increase that. And when you do it properly, your body doesn't have a choice but to change, because you're creating strength. So it's just getting all the joints in your body strong so that they don't have to be tight because of their weakness or being compensated.
Body working together as one.
Yeah, we just want strength.
Yes.
We just want the joints to be strong, and they want to move through all the ranges of movement so that we don't have to be locked up. But it's hard because to get more movement, you need to move. It's not easy to make change in your body. You've got to train, you've got to do it.
Yeah.
And mobility training is hard, but it ends up being not a full-time gig. Once you do it and you've got the range that you need, then you don't need to do it anymore.
It's like anything, isn't it? Once you've earned it, it's much easier to maintain than it is to, but you got to get it, hey?
Once you get it and you've got it, and I'm at the place where I've got it, man, then it's just, for me, it's just about maintenance.
Yeah.
And if I want to push more, then I can, but I don't really need it. Like if I wanted to do a mobility block to get further into the splits or anything, that I can 100% can, but it's not a massive goal of mine.
Cool.
But if it is someone's goal, then this is the perfect thing for it, because it literally changed the joint. And I'd been stuck training just the muscle for so long, the joint wasn't getting anything. The joint wasn't getting any sort of stimulus. It wasn't being moved. It wasn't being trained with strength. It was just being stuck doing these hypertrophy movements. So it was a massive shock to my body when I started it. But then once I got out of it and started lifting weights again, everything just felt buttery and smooth. Which was a really weird feeling.
Yes.
Because you get stuck in that place and it just becomes your norm. So I wasn't struggling to overhead press at all, or any sort of pressing movement, for about a year before I found this.
Cool.
And then now I haven't had pain in my shoulders for a long time, and I'm doing Cubans, and it just feels incredible. I used to have to train for probably an hour and a half just to get myself to do a full Cuban. And now I just can go into the gym, grab a barbell and just do it, and my shoulders feel great after it.
Yeah, cool. Wow.
I feel awesome, and there's not an exercise that I can't do. There's nothing in life that is too much for me. I can just go around and it's the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be able to be limited by my body, which is the biggest goal of what I was trying to get, because that was my biggest issue.
So if, I guess like you've mentioned, obviously you're pretty busy, but if someone did want to reach out and work to you, where's the best way to do that?
I got Instagram as nicktimmovement.com, and if not, just socials. Instagram Nick Timm with 3Ms. DM me. I'm looking at getting these programs sorted and released by January next year.
Cool.
So hopefully the new year.
The New Year crew.
Yeah, the new year crew hopefully should be able to get onto that, and then it's just going to be about just getting the next blocks going, and then so people can keep going through it, progressively getting it harder and harder. So
Cool, man.
that's the goal, bro.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you, brother. What are you?